Hi, I'm Heather from Here Booktubes, and I am a romance reader. Before I was a romance reader, I was a fantasy reader, and I would like to get back into the genre a little bit. So this is my fantasy TBR. If you know me, then you know it's a bit long for what I like my books that I'm actively interested in to be. Like, I keep my Goodreads shelves pretty pared down. I don't like having 100 books that I want to read because I'm not going to read. 100 books that I already know about are very unlikely to get read, right? Some of them will get read and then I'm constantly hearing about new books. So most of them are not going to get read. So this is like 28, so it might be a little bit of a long video, but I just wanted to make it because I do really want to get back into fantasy, and I feel like my fantasy reading right now is like so slow, like every couple months, that like who knows when I'm actually gonna talk about these books. So we're gonna do the TBR. I really hope you guys like this video. Alright, so the first one is Little Fire by Hollee Mands. This is a fantasy romance. So he is a powerful being, and he accidentally gets stuck in the shadow realm with a woman that he was trying to rescue, I think, and I believe it's fated mates, and she can't remember her past very well. I do think that there are some triggers for sexual abuse. This one I have is from Elsie Winters. She keeps making me put these books on my TBR. I don't think she's read this, but it's by Lisette Marshall. This one's Iron. This is The Queen and the Assassin, and she has another series, which is The Princess and the Spy Master, that I really want to read. But I wanted to start with this one, and hopefully I like her writing and will continue. So she killed her abusive husband and has been ruling very, iron fist since then, because her nobles are constantly scheming, and then one of the nobles hires an assassin, and she's not the easy prey that he thought she would be. Now they've formed an alliance, and I believe are obviously getting romantically entangled, because this is fantasy romance rather than straight fantasy, and it's Grumpy Sunshine, enemies to lovers. They don't know who's after her, and now they're after him too. So I'm just like, please, this sounds like everything that I want. If you could please just deliver on this, I would be so happy. So that's what I want. I want to love this author and read the things, because it sounds like my jam. It sounds exactly like my jam. So I need it to be good. Then I have Jade City by Fonda. Now I know that this series is going to rip my heart out and stomp on it, and that is not really my jam. By the way, if you have read this series and the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, if you could let me know which one is sadder, that would be great. But Mina from Mina Reads, I really blame for talking me into this, because as much as so many of my friends have absolutely loved this trilogy, Mina is the one that has gotten me interested, and it's because one of the characters has jade nipple rings, and I apparently can't resist the idea of jade nipple rings. So this is like a criminal syndicate, like mafia-esque urban fantasy type. It's very family and duty and loyalty and all these things, and I don't think any of the characters are safe. Like, I know people have talked about how like their heart's been ripped out, so I'm worried about it. But the nipple rings, man. Also, jade is used for magic, if you're not familiar. Then I have Little Thieves by Margaret Owen. This is a retelling of The Goose Girl, which I feel like I would know if you told me the story, but I couldn't tell you the story. And I know Rachel loves this one, and if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure Rachel loves this one. So you have a girl who's been the servant to the princess, and then she makes a deal and she switches places with the princess, leaves the princess penniless, and she's using magic to take her place. And she is also a jewel thief, and she's trying to get away. right before she's gonna go away, she crosses the wrong god, and now she has 2 weeks to pull everything off or she's gonna die. Just to break her curse, make her get away. Feral guardian half god, the princess's sinister fiance, and an overeager junior detective on her tail. So I think that's gonna be pretty cool. I don't know if there's any romance in this, but I am very interested in it because I've heard its praises sung. Next, I have The Deep by River Solomon. Part of the reason why this is on my TBR, not only the praises being sung for it, because I've heard nobody say a bad word about it, but also it's short, which is a plus for me. So this is if the African women who were brought on the slave ships, who were pregnant and tossed overboard and drowned, which is real history, if they became mermaids and had an entire underwater society. But then I believe that there's one person who holds the history of their race in their minds, basically to avoid generational trauma and things like that, I think. However, I think it's too much for that person. Possibly. I've heard the writing is incredible. So I'm really looking forward to getting to that at some point. Then I have Blackstone by Rebecca Brunhorst. The fact that this is by an Indigenous author is a big reason why it's on my TBR. I've also heard nothing but good things. I think we get to follow kind of a villain protagonist, and I know the beginning is very gruesome and like throws you right into the story. And it takes place in America before Columbus. That's really all I know. I don't want to know a ton about this, but I am very interested. I've heard nothing but good things. Then I have Winter's Orbit by Everina Maxwell. This is a male-male romance, fantasy romance, and the imperial prince dies and his husband gets forced into an arranged marriage with his cousin, the dead husband's cousin, to try and keep the peace, and then he is the one suspected of the murder. So obviously the cousin's like, So they have to try and figure out, you know, what's happening politically, and then also, can they trust each other? Can they love each other? All of that. I've heard very good things. That's why these things are on my TBR, so I probably don't need to keep saying that, but it's true. Then I have Son of the Storm by Suyi, Davies, Okungbowa. And this one, there is no romance, and Vina loves it. So the chances of me loving it are not super high. But our reading taste does overlap some, and I'm interested in this one because it is African-inspired fantasy, and the people that I follow, I think, have mostly enjoyed it. It doesn't have a super high rating on Goodreads, but I think the reviewers that I follow have mostly enjoyed it. Okay, now I'm looking at reviews. Now they have not necessarily. But again, this is for colonialism. Clever scholar who's on the cusp of greatness, but he doesn't really want to be. And he wants to know what's going on outside the city, and that's forbidden. And then he sees somebody with a magic that shouldn't exist. And he goes on a quest and he discovers all these things, but he's also leaving chaos behind him with these reveals. So we shall see. Then another one that is really short, and I've heard the writing is incredibly beautiful, is A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. This is a Dracula's Bride's retelling. It is not a romance. There is not an HEA. Well, it really does revolve around a lot of love stories. It's not a happy ending. But Izzy loved it, and Mina loved it. Naima loved it. So I really do think that I will love it. And also, like I said, it's short, it's queer, it's Dracula's Brides, and the fact that he saves them, but also didn't treat them well. And I just think it would be very interesting to read. I have Root Magic by Eden Royce, and this is a middle grade. It takes place in South Carolina in the 1960s, and when they turn 11, their uncle is teaching them root work, and it turns out that their family actually has a lot of magic. I know they deal with racism from a sheriff, because evil is coming for them, both I think from people and from the supernatural. So I'm gonna say Ashley loved it. Okay, maybe not. Looking at reviews on Goodreads and I don't see her. But I do know quite a few people have loved it, so. Oh, Fiona loved it. Fiona liked it. Anyways, I'm interested. I might read that one with my kids. Next, I have Heir to the Shadows, which is the Black Jewels #2. So this is a series I've actually already started. Go me. Did I read it like 4 years ago? Yeah, but I'm still interested in the second one. This is by Anne Bishop. I, again, years ago was in a Sarah J. Maas fan group on Facebook. And I want to say in there someone posted that they thought the ACOTAR was ripped off of the series. And I was like, well, I want more, so I'll go for the original. And it was pretty heavy, but I can definitely see the correlation there. And the thing is, in the first book, our main character is still like a child. So she grows in age throughout the series, and also there's definitely content warnings for like sexual assault and things like that. Man that's gonna love her, he's not doing he's not doing well at the end of the first book, so I do want to continue it. I think it's gonna be an epic romance. Then I have The Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick. So this is completely from Angela at the Literature Science Alliance? Science Literature Alliance? I'm not sure what order her channel name is, but I was watching one of her videos. It was either end of year or end of quarter or something like that, favorites, and she just convinced me about this book. Basically, I think there's a lot of political intrigue, which I love. I could not tell you much about it. All I know is she really sold me on it and was like, more people need to read this. And I was like, I am more people. And she's a con artist who's tricking her way into a noble's house, and there's a nightmare magic going over the court, and there's like war between the classes, and she's caught in the middle, plus the magic and stuff. And yes. Then Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I could not tell you where I got this book from. I definitely heard or saw somebody talking about it, but I have no idea. The love of her life is going to marry another, so she's desperate to stop the wedding, so she makes a deal with the wicked Prince of Hearts. He wants 3 kisses in exchange, and then it turns out he wants a lot more. And it's going to either be an HEA or an exquisite tragedy. Which does alarm me, because what if it's not an HEA? Because it's not romance book, so I'm not guaranteed, but that's why I'm interested, is that synopsis. I love a good villain protagonist, a dark, powerful protagonist. Give it to me. Then I have Blood Oath by Ray Wagner and Kelly St. Clair. So their country's not doing well, and it's ruled by a vicious king and Lord Eric, who is a dragon shifter. And you know, the rebellion surges. She's ready, and then she gets captured by Lord Eric. And yeah, I don't know if this is like a love triangle or just her and the dragon. I don't know, but I think they're on opposite sides of this conflict. So I mean, it sounds good, does it not? Then I have Guild, which is by Raven Kennedy. This one is super popular. Heard a lot about it. It's King Midas, and she is golden from his touch, and I know there's like rape on page and sexual assault. There's also a love triangle, and the romance doesn't really take place in the first book. You have to continue with the series to get it, but I have just stayed interested in it from the very first time I heard about it, and I just feel like it might work for me. It's like a dark fantasy romance, and that's that. Then I have Soul in Darkness by Wendy Higgins, which has been on my radar since before it came out in February 2019. This is a Psyche and Cupid retelling, which I have not read. She steals from Venus. Venus gets Cupid to punish her, and she's terrified of like the monster that she's given to. It's like a snake-like monster, and it's her mate, but he's like very gentle with her. I think it's Cupid in another form. I don't know, but I've just stayed stayed interested in it for literally years. Have I picked it up? No. I've stayed interested, and somebody recently, I want to say on Instagram, read it and enjoyed it. Then I have The Affiliate by K.A. Lind. This is completely because of Jean at Romantic Deception. This is YA, and I think the first book is a little bit of an introduction, world building, so a little bit slower, but Jean enjoyed it. And I think there's a love triangle. And I think that like book 3 or 4, something like that, you're gonna be pretty ticked off. She is supposed to be an affiliate to the Queen, which is like a very high ranking, but it's not how it seems. Her position grows more treacherous and she falls in love with the King, which is a problem. Then I have A Deal with the Elf King by Elise Kova. This is a standalone. It's also lighter and shorter. I think it's also YA, so it's not explicit. She's a human girl and she gets picked by the Elf King to be his bride, and the human queens, they die. And it turns out that a lot of this is for the magic, and she's going to be trying to figure out how to have a balanced magic without sacrificing human women, and also is obviously going to fall in love with her husband. Okay. Yes. Then I have Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Suyi Tan, and this just got its sequel announced. It's also very pretty. Her mother gets exiled and she gets caught with dangerous magic. She runs away, but she ends up training with the prince, and then she's going to have to confront the emperor and do a dangerous bargain. It's romantic duology, so yes. Then I have Ray Bearer by Jordan Ifueko. Ray, I know, loves this one. I've heard that the second book is really good, and a lot of times when I am looking at a multi-book story, I want to know that it doesn't start off great and just go downhill from there. So I've heard great things about the sequel as well, so I'm very happy about that. It's a duology. The children get sent to this palace. Basically, they're all raised together, and she needs to be on the Crown Prince's Council of 11, but her mother is like the mysterious lady. She's not affectionate or anything, and if she wins the prince's trust, then the lady has wished for her to kill the Crown Prince, and she doesn't want to, but she doesn't know if she's strong enough to not be a pawn. So I've heard very good things. I believe this is another African-inspired fantasy. Then I have For the Wolf by Hannah F. Witten. The first daughter is for the throne, the second daughter is for the wolf. If that's not an amazing tagline, I don't know what is, because I'm already in it. Izzy from Happy for Now read and loved this and said that other romance readers would love it, so that really boosted it up my TBR possibilities. So she's the only second daughter born in centuries, so they've been avoiding having daughters, so they don't have to give it to the wolf. And then when she is given to the wolf, she finds out that everything's a lie. The wolf is a man, not a monster. The gods that the wolf is supposed to be returning for the sacrifices are actually monsters now, and her magic is like really important and she needs to save everybody. And then the second book, which is not out yet but is coming, I believe, is called For the Throne. Yes. Yes. Yeah, it's coming out in June. Literally, what more could you ask for? Because yes, I'm not gonna read the synopsis because I don't want to spoil myself, but yeah. I have One for All by Lily Linoff, and this is because of Ava. Ava has POTS, and the main character in this book has POTS, and I think the author does. I know the author has a chronic illness or disability of some sort, but I think they might specifically have POTS, and it's a gender bent retelling of the Three Musketeers. So she's going to go to a finishing school where she's taught to be a musketeer, so hide a dagger under your skirt, seduce men to get them to tell you your secrets, act like a lady, but don't be afraid of sword fights. And her mother wants her to get married, and she's like, no. And her father disappears, so she's trying to find out what happened to him. And I'm very curious to see what the author does with it. I don't think Ava's actually read it yet, but I think my library has it, so that's good. Then I have Ruin and Roses by Deanna Ortega. This is a dark and spicy fantasy romance. So she plays many roles, but it's gonna catch up to her, right? She has to do an unfit marriage to the Mad King's son while the cursed king's daughter survive. And she also has affairs with her ex-lover, an unwanted keeper. So there's quite a few content warnings listed here, including sexual and child abuse. So do be aware of that. I always appreciate authors listing it. Then Castles in Their Bones by Laura Sebastian. I know I got this one from Elliot Brooks. This one sounds so interesting because this queen trains these princesses. They go to these other countries and marry into royalty and then cause unrest and discord and prepare the country to be taken over by the queen. You know, doesn't that sound so good? I support women's wrongs over here. Then I have Bow Before the Elf Queen, which is by J.M. Curl. This is new. And my sister read it because she saw that I posted about it and she said it's amazing. She said it does end on a cliffhanger, but not a cliffhanger for their romantic relationship. So she prepares for the day the Wicked Elf King will come to claim her, his powerful mate, and she tries to kill him, basically. He's like, yeah, no, I'm gonna marry you. He has a secret that makes it where she can't kill him, but she has a secret where he can't love her. Yeah, my sister said it was good, so I'm excited. Plus the cover, stunning. Also have Book of Night by Hollee Black. It just came out. I loved the Curl Prince. I want to see what she does with adult fantasy. I think it's kind of urban fantasy. I think it's in the real world. Next I have Wicked is the Reaper by Nisha J. Tooley. This is short and it's a romance. So there's a hunt. Whoever brings the largest stag to the fee of my father will win my hand in marriage. And you know, she has a friend to lovers that she wants to win, but turns out the Reaper, the monster, claims her. Like, yes. That's my jam. Okay, almost done here. Then I have Daughter of No Worlds. I think, again, this might have been from TikTok, so sketchy. Oh, this is long. Ugh. Daughter of No Worlds by Carissa Broadbent. Her life for freedom, her blood for love. She's taken as a child. She has sharp wit and a touch of magic. She wants to save the best friend she left behind. She needs to become part of the organization of the powerful magic wielders. And she has an apprenticeship with a handsome and reclusive fire wielder who despises the orders. Obviously, we know where this is going. And then lastly, for now, I have Paladin's Grace by T. Kingfisher. I want to say I also saw this on TikTok. Could not tell you. But, or that might be completely false, but Stephen's god died and it's 3 years later and Grace is an ally and witnesses an assassination attempt gone wrong. So the two of them have to navigate all the things, including a killer and spies. Of murder, magic, and love on the far side of despair, which I feel like would turn me off from it, but whoever I saw it from convinced me that would be worth it. So that's it. That's all the books on my fantasy TBR right now. If you know me and you've read any of these, tell me which ones you think I will love or hate. And you're like, girl, that's not the one for you. I would love to know. I would love to know. Yeah, let me know all the things. So, thanks so much for watching. Bye.